Welcome back to the Overwatch League, everybody, and a special welcome to our Disney XD audience as well. You've caught us at a great time because we're about to start San Francisco Shock versus Hangzhou Spark. It's going to be a great series. It's electrifying. So
too electrifying.
It's too much.
After the charge game, we've got the triple electricity teams all in a row right now.
That's right. We will be so charged up now. Anyway, whatever. But this is a big match for Shock. All seriousness in there, right, man? Like, this is a series where you look at these guys' schedule going forward, they really need to win this series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, San Francisco Shock, if they want to make these stage playoffs, they're already sitting at 1-2, despite being one of the best teams in this league.
Check that out.
Yeah, and it's because of those losses, close losses to the Gladiators and the Titans, and you know, Spark Justice are sort of must-win for them, and then they need to either pick up a win against the Excelsior or the Eternal to put themselves at 4 wins so they at least have a shot of getting in those stage playoffs.
It's definitely going to be a tough rest of the stage for Shock, but luckily, they've got some very good tools in the toolbox to make things happen. Let's take a look at this guy, Sinatra, setting records for damage. This guy has been on fire on Zarya last week or so.
Yeah, this season, Sinatra's doing things his way, though, for sure. Hero damage, first, of course, in the league. Now, the big problem is that team fight first death statistic down there was at 21st.
Sure.
I have a feeling part of this was the Vancouver game where they heavily targeted him first in those team fights, which probably drove that statistic down. But the reason why the Titans were able to do that is because he positions himself very aggressively in the front, and that leads to situations where you can isolate him and eliminate him very quickly.
Yeah, now on the other side of things, the Hangzhou Spark, this is a team that had a lot of hype surrounding them coming into the season this year. Their first 2 matches, great. They looked awesome. Their last 2 matches, not so great. It was a complete reversal of results for these guys. They won 2, then they lost 2. Let's compare those matches.
Yeah, taking a look at that, obviously team fight win rate goes way down, nearly 9%, and that's a really big factor in Overwatch because every team fight that you can win, obviously getting over 50% means that you usually get at least some amount of time on the objective, whether that's a control point or a payload. So these team fight win rates are often heavily correlated to win rates in this league.
Very true. Well, 2 good matches, 2 bad matches. We'll see which Hangzhou Spark we get today. But first, let's bid a warm Overwatch welcome to the San Francisco Shock. Taking the field now, the almost home team. They're in California. They're just not quite an LA team. The San Francisco Shock. This is a team that a lot of people are very excited about coming into the season. They've got so many talented players, a lot of DPS players on this team, but we found they've had a good amount of flexibility, too, to use them.
Yeah, and as we look at this opening lineup, we are going to see Violet coming back in. Moth will still be playing the main support. Smurf, who is the tank that has played most of their control maps, will also be in here. And Architect, that very flexible projectile damage dealer. But Violet, I think, was a big story for the Shock coming into their first match. It was his first Overwatch League match when they played against the Vancouver Titans, arguably the #1 team in this league, and he had a pretty decent performance.
Very true. Well, coming at them fast and furious in this series, their opponents. Let's hear it for the Hangzhou Spark. Well, what can you say about these guys? 2 convincing wins, 2 convincing losses. Which Hangzhou Spark are we going to see today?
I think they need to reevaluate what they're doing. They're going to be playing Bazzi, who's one of their damage dealers, on this control map, which makes sense because he's more flexible.
Sure.
But I do think that putting Adora in as the Brigitte player on later maps might be a good idea for them because he dies considerably less on that hero.
What do you think about starting with Gushui as well? You know, this is a player that's going to have some communication, some language issues with the rest of the team. He does have great individual results, but when you put him in the team scenario as a whole, they seem to suffer a little bit.
If I was the Hangzhou Sparks coach, based on their last week, I would not be putting Gushui in at all.
Interesting.
That would be my take on the situation because so much of their play last week was a result of poor shot calling and in-game decision-making.
Sure.
And considering that 5 of these members are going to be speaking Korean and 1 of them Chinese, they sort of have to communicate in English as a bridge language. And I think that just causes too many problems when you're already making shot calling mistakes. So even though I think Gushui is a superior individual tank player to No Smite, their other tank, I think at this juncture, you need to iron out those kinks first. So I call this into question a bit.
Well, we'll see how they do. He's in, Gushui's in for the first map anyway. Meanwhile, on the San Francisco side, getting things ready for our series. I'm excited to see Violet play again. You know, we didn't get to see him in the first couple matches. He played fantastically, certainly looking already like one of the best Zenyatas in the league. And so the question is now, you know, can he keep up the performance? And that's kind of the theme of stage one, right? When you get that good stuff, can they keep it up?
Yeah, and to talk about Violet, I mean, this is a guy who came out in a losing effort and is currently ranked at #2 in damage for 10 minutes and #1 in healing for 10 minutes in the league.
Sure enough, well, our Toyota map list, let's check it out. Ilios gonna start things off on control with that map. Hollywood, Anubis, and then Route 66. So a lot of opportunity for things to go crazy. Ilios is always one of my favorite maps out there. It seems like it gets really action-packed, lots of environmental kills. It's fun time.
It is really fun.
It is.
So to go back to Violet, because I want to talk about this for a bit. I'm really excited about this player. So he showed a lot of promise. And when I say he's #2 on damage for 10 minutes, that's on Zenyatta, obviously, compared to other Zenyatta players.
Right.
But one of the problems was not that he wasn't playing individually well. He was pumping out a ridiculous amount of damage and heals. It was that he was dying at really inopportune times. He was taking aggressive peaks, losing duels to the enemy Zenyatta, getting hacked. You know, these were big problems where even though most of the time he was performing great, he died at crucial junctures in that match, and that can't happen anymore.
He's going to start out with the Moira this time for San Francisco Shock, so playing a hero with a bit more escapability than Zenyatta has. We'll see if that helps him out. Hangzhou Spark, though, getting the first. Oh, yeah. Are they going to? Yeah. Looks like they're going to go back and make some swaps. There's Violet over on the Zenyatta. Smurf changing to the Reinhardt. Sinatra on the Zarya. That's going to give Shock potential control over the point first.
So what the Shock thought the Spark were doing was they thought they were playing Pharah. That's why they ran with that composition, just to hold the point.
All right, Shock gonna try to stop Spark from taking it, but they can't. It looks like Spark is gonna get their control percent rolling early. And now the question is, can they win the ensuing defensive battle here? Oh, Gushui low, Sinatra finishes him off. Smurf on the opposing Reinhardt got low too, but he stayed alive. And that's gonna give Shock a chance to come back and win this fight. It looks like they will. So Shock making the educated changes, winning the fight, not giving too much percentage over to Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, that went about as well as it could for the Shock. They want to play the 3-tank, 3-support composition right now on this point. They anticipated that Spark would be doing something with a few more damage-dealing heroes, and their idea was, hey, let's just hold the point with our Moira, because she has so much close-range healing. Didn't actually matter. They give up that percent, but they win the fight anyway.
Now can they hold it? The good news for them is that they've got a lot of ultimates coming up. Hangzhou, though, is going to have quite a few themselves here. Sinatra waiting for a chance. Might just grab the edge of this ledge. We'll see what he decides to go for. Don't want to be too hasty with that. Don't want to get that grab eaten by Rhea on the Diva.
He's looking for that opportunity here. Avoid the defense matrix.
Now rallies on both sides. They're going in. Defense matrix is all over the place. Gotta wait for that cooldown to go down. Mo Smurf taken out, though, by Bezzy. And that's a good start for Spark. Now, can they win this efficiently? And how much will Shock commit? Looks like they're just going to back off and give it over to them.
Oh, they're going.
Oh, maybe not. They're going back in. They're going at the grab. Whoa, the counter shatter comes out from Gushui. Trying to knock a few low. Didn't quite work out. Shock has that sound barrier to try to keep people up. But Gushui does get pooped off the edge by Moth, actually. Now it's going to be Smurf coming in with another shatter. Turning things around for Spark yet again. And, man, Shock able to reclaim the point despite it really looking like it was going to go the other way for a while.
Shock took a bold move right there in using the Graviton Surge and committing so many ultimates to that engagement, but they knew Smurf was on his way back. And when they traded 1-for-1, ended up with Shock with a fresh Reinhardt in the fight and able to deal the damage.
I mean, the timing for that is so tight, right? Yes. You have to go in right as that Reinhardt's getting back, and you don't have a lot of time to do that. Engaging with the self-destruct, our Spark. The follow-up comes in, team trying to attack here too, but they don't really have a lot of ultimates to prop this attack up, though. I don't know about this one from Spark. They're going to lose Gushui right off the bat. They got to stop Shock somehow. San Francisco still holding strong on the point. That's a nice knockoff onto Rhea from Moth. Getting him out of the commission right away. Violet down on the Shock side, though. We are in overtime. It's expiring. Can Spark get back in and stop it? Looks like they'll just barely be able to do it. Bezzy just trying to keep things alive as they re-engage here. There's another grab. That one got eaten, though, by Choyobin. Shock's still in good shape, especially with that sound barrier now. And Spark grasping at straws here. Gushui goes for another shatter, but gets shattered himself. Doesn't end up working out. Gets stunned himself, rather. That said, Spark somehow find enough people on the point to flip it. It's so back and forth. But Spark may have just found a way. I don't know, man. That's another shatter coming in. One of the longest fights I've seen in a while. But somehow Shock managed to turn it back around in their favor. They're going to retake the point. And I don't know if Hangzhou can get anybody there in time to stop this.
Get a Reinhardt there, that's for sure.
They're gonna try. Denied. He doesn't get in there. Gushue down again, and Shock will take the first point here on Ilios.
And they were really the Shock, or Spark rather, really didn't get any percent outside of what they were given at the start of the match by the Shock, while the Shock were making that compositional switch. So
yeah.
Spark looking a little bit rusty there coming into this first round, and especially Gushue isolated consistently from the rest of his team and often eliminated first.
Well, that's what we were talking about, right? Where it seems like when they put Gushue in, this guy has got some amazing individual skill on the Reinhardt, but you do see him sort of be out of sync with the team, and it does come down to that language barrier, right? Where 5 members speaking Korean, he speaks Chinese, they're trying to make it all work in English, and you're gonna have miscommunication in that situation.
Yeah, Gushue had 2 elims and 5 deaths that round, 0 final blows, so he's
not ideal.
He's lowest elims, highest deaths, and often isolated.
Well,
having a rough Ilios.
A chance to bring it back here on Ruins. Another round on Ilios. Shock trying to win this one to close out the map. First fight, let's see who takes it here. Low health onto Smurf. He's actually eliminated early. Bebe with the finishing blow there. On the Zenyatta, on board with him now as Shock tries to find a way to win this one 5v6. Looks like it's going to be Spark trying to take it first, so is the Diva taken out on the Shock side as well, and so looks like San Francisco is going to need to regroup.
Yeah, Smurf changing over to the Reinhardt. I'm not sure what they were expecting from the Spark there, but I don't think it was the Reinhardt 3-3. Because he sort of just dove into the mass of players and played right into the Reinhardt compositions, getting in range of that hammer for the damage.
Spark likes to throw a lot of DPS in compositions at times when other teams wouldn't, but they're playing it straight up 3-3 today so far. Shock trying to hold the point now with San Francisco on the outside looking in. Choyobin down to about half health here. Oh, and he's actually knocked off. Bezzy managed to take him with the whip shot when he didn't have that charge up. That's awkward.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want right now if you're the Shock, although you are coming up to a trance. Spark's going to be pursuing this forward a little bit, so not that much time lost as Choi Hyobin comes back. You see Godsby and Rhea on top of the temple there, dealing damage onto Sinatra from above.
Nearly 6 ultimates available for Spark in this next fight, though. They're going to go in with the grab. That's going to be the Transcendence for Shock. Doesn't save Sinatra. Self-destruct. Ooh, barely blocked by Shock, but they've already lost their Zarya. Statistically, it's really unlikely you're going to win the fight after losing that here first. And Choyobin just takes a dive. He's like, nah, man, it's time to go swimming. Swimming right back to spawn, and Shock back to the drawing board.
Yeah, a lot of times you will see these Overwatch players heading off the map to reset themselves so they can rejoin their team, where they don't lose as much percent here on the control point. There's one fight left, really, for the San Francisco Shock.
Here we go again. All right, Rhea knocked down by Smurf's Earth Shatter, but it's going to be the Transcendence from Shock to keep people up, and that's going to lead to Shock just running all over, or Spark, rather, running all over San Francisco Shock. Too many electric teams in the league right now. Either way, it's a quick cleanup for Spark, and we're over 90% now for Hangzhou. Can they close it out? Choyobin desperately trying to get back to the point. He uses the ultimate, tries to get their mini diva, can't quite reach it in time. They do get OT instead. He managed to barely touch it, I guess, but nobody else is going to get there, and we are all tied up on Ilios.
Yeah, really tight ultimate economy at the end there from the Spark. They never committed too much of anything, and you know, we talked about Gushue. Well, he made the big play in that fight by hitting the Earth Shatter. It split up Sinatra from the rest of the team, and the Shatter came in right as Sinatra hit the grab, so the rest of the team unable to follow up while they were stunned, knocked on the ground.
Spark looking pretty happy after that one.
They should. They played well.
You know, that's the flip side, right? That's why a lot of people say you put Gushue in, because he makes those big individual plays, and so it's very binary, right? When he's making the plays, then he's the guy you want in. When he's having the communication issues, then it's like, well, maybe no smite would have been the play after all, but on that round at least, it was all Gushue. So here we go. On to well for the third and final round of Ilios. Whoever wins this one wins the map. And Architect actually going to start things off on the McCree. We'll see if they stick with it or if they swap. They're going to go for the Orisa.
This is powerful against the Winston 3-3
Yeah.
that we see Spark running right now, because if you dive in, you can just get stunned by the McCree and burst down instantly.
Fan the Hammer's so good right now. Violet takes out his counterpart Zenyatta. Sinatra and Moth down first though, and Spark starting to win this fight here. Gushue fleeing, gets chased down by Choyabin. Can they finish him off? I think he got to the health pack in time. He should be okay. He is okay, and it's gonna be Spark taking the point first again. Doesn't look like we're gonna see any changes from Shock just yet, but I don't know, what do you think? Should they? There we go, the swap's coming in.
Right now.
I was gonna be surprised, yeah.
Now, Sinatra was on the Brigitte, so by switching over, they do reset their ults back down to 0%.
Well, if there's any time you're gonna do it, it's gonna be now. If you're gonna make those changes, you have to be decisive and you have to do it early. So here we go. Shock trying to come in again without the ultimates that they wish they would have. Sinatra down early. Rhea with an uppercut to the Zarya there to finish him off. Gushue in a lot of trouble though. They're gonna finish him. Violet with the final blow there. Now Choyabin with the self-destruct, catching nobody, but he does get his mech back again. He likes to do that sometimes just to get that Diva health back up again. Architect pops a rally. They're not done yet. With Gushue down, this is Shock's time to try to push this. They get caught in the Graviton Surge, but no kills for Spark out of that. Violet with that extra armor. That's not a Zenyatta you want to mess with. He's just going to fire from the outside here. Meanwhile, Spark still gaining that control percent. Shock has not been able to take the point in all of this action here. Using the sound barrier now. Another long fight from these two teams.
Trying to isolate the Primal Rage Winston, but they can't quite get him down. So Gushue somehow still alive through all of this.
Whoa, Rhea caught Smurf somehow. Not sure how he got caught out by that self-destruct, but that is huge for Spark. They never gave over the point, and after you kill that main tank, the rest of the team pretty much has to go running.
Yeah, that was some good zoning there by Gushue, knowing his limits, not going to die in the Primal Rage, and able to control the point this entire time. So San Francisco Shock here in one fight territory yet again.
That's the thing, and this is one fight away from winning the map and taking lead in the series, so this is a big one. Shock has a lot of ultimates to use here. Coming into it, all right, there's the Graviton Surge. Spark trying to stop them before they can even get to the point. Can they reach it? They can't, just barely. Can they win the fight though? Sinatra's grab got eaten by Rhea. That is huge. Shock without one of their crucial ultimates now. And everyone's gonna take a ride. Huge move for IDK. He gets two with it. The Diva and the Brigitte going down into the well, and they are not coming out again. Spark winning this fight, and that will be Nepal. Bebe does get knocked into the well himself, but doesn't look like Shock's gonna come back from that one. Spark taking the early lead in this series.
Yeah, big win here on Ilios. 100-0 on the final 2 points for the Spark. Statement match there on Control.
Well, exciting first map going down to the wire, but in the end, Spark coming out on top. Quick break, and we'll be back with map number 2 right after this.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
A poke comp consists of heroes that have long range damage, such as Bearer or even Widowmaker Hangzhou, who can stay far away from danger while dealing damage. And your goal is just to like poke them out, make them jump on you, and that's when you punish them. So with a poke composition, an example would be on control, where the enemy team has a bunch of tanks and they've gone to the point. You don't want to just rush straight in and start fighting with a poke comp because they're going to outbrawl you. So you want to spam them down with poke over time. And then once they're low enough, or once you've built ults of Fair or something, then you can go in and play off the poke damage you've already done.
There you go. Cruz with a little bit of the Pharah knowledge bomb dropped from above.
Cruz
there you go.
clues.
Cruz clues. Beautiful. I love it. It's great. Well, you know what? If you're a Hangzhou Spark fan, you're loving the result of that first map. They were able to take it 2-1 on Ilios. And what do you think, man? San Francisco Shock kind of struggling a bit on control, huh?
I mean, they lost their control on their last match versus the Titans pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
They lost on control in the 5th map against the LA Gladiators pretty convincingly. I really think that, so they've lost actually their last several control maps in a row now.
Pretty convincingly. It's
And-
the theme I'm picking up here.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on using Smurf as a main tank on control. It doesn't really seem to synergize that well with Sinatra's more aggressive playstyle, but
Hey, what do you know?
does? This guy.
It's Super, subbing in for Smurf at the main tank role. A player you and I were talking about during the break. We're like, hey, why don't we see him? And Rascal in for Architect.
This is really interesting to see
Yeah.
Rascal coming in. He's played on some of these control maps previously. He's a player known for his projectile damage dealer, so shooting a lot of rockets as the Pharah.
Okay, Gushui out, no smite in for Hangzhou Spark. They are making that change over at their main tank role. And so it's like we talked about with that team where Gushui seems to provide the individual power on the main tank role, and No Smite provides the team skills. So we're going to Hollywood next.
I'm not
for
sure
a
what
hybrid
Smurf
map.
provides, though, to be honest. Like, seems
I
to
don't know.
seems to not make the plays,
Durability.
and also doesn't have the greatest synergy with the Shock. So,
Well.
I am a bit curious as to what the San Francisco strategy is for using him.
The thing to keep in mind, though, is we are still early in the season, and we are going to see a lot of teams experiment with lineups, experiment with compositions. You still have to test some of this stuff on stage before you really know if you want to stick with it, right? So, and the Omnic executive in the limo, unable to drive himself, despite the fact it's a 2-door car. Why does he just scoot over?
I mean, he's a robot. Don't they have robot cars in the
I
future
don't, you
to
think
drive
so?
themselves?
You'd think it'd just be self-driving. I never noticed. It's a 2-door car. What, is he in the trunk or something?
There's a lot of complaints to be had with this map.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, there you go. Those are pretty sick wheels, though. Yeah, look at that. In the trunk. I'm rich, but I'm in the trunk of my own car. I need someone to drive me to my office. That's the story of Hollywood in Overwatch. There you go.
So here's a question for you. What is Rascal going to do? So Hollywood is a map where normally we just see Reinhardt, triple tank, triple support.
Sure.
So why are you playing Rascal if he's just going to play Brigitte?
Because maybe you want to bring in the Pharah later. He is known for his Pharah. You can see that in Hollywood once in a while. I don't know.
If you're not going to use it on point A attack, where are you going to use it on this map?
Kick it old school, man. Point B
questions
defense.
abound.
We'll see. Rhea, ooh, a couple kills on the Shock already. Spark coming up big in this first fight to Baby. It stays alive. That's a clean team kill for Spark as long as they can finish off Sinatra. And it looks like they will.
So they basically just ran at the cafe high ground, which is where they wanted to go, but Violet died on that approach, which completely nullified that fight. Usually you can't take such a linear approach, just charging forward to a choke point. We're going to see right now, they're going to see Rio's position there because he wants to see if he can catch out Violet again.
Right.
They're just going to go through the same approach.
Oh, going in. All right. Well, this knockup. They knew he was going to be there. Rascal down, though. Doesn't matter. Rhea kept alive. Spark was so ready to support that diva. Oh, now Violet down as well. I mean, that's the thing. Shock knew he was there. They tried to tunnel onto the diva, and they just got themselves trapped.
I don't know what
Plus
you
out the
say.
Admiral Akbar, man. It's a trap.
They're just running into this twice in a row now. Instead of taking the outside approach, going to our right, they're left outside of that arch choke point and taking the high ground. So Hangzhou constantly has priority.
Now Godspeed's got a ton of charge on the Zarya. Nearly has the ultimate too. Hangzhou Spark coming into this next defensive fight with all the tools they need. Keep this defense rolling. Violet down already. A fire strike takes him out. This is disastrous for Shock. They have to fight another 5v6.
I mean, this is disastrous because they're losing fights, and Hangzhou doesn't have to use ultimates, so they're just getting a bigger and bigger bank. And the thing is, they can't contest this.
No Smite gets stunned, but he's going to go in anyway. Rascal is going to run right over them. Man.
This is terrible shot calling from the Shock. So there Zenyatta dies, remember. Zenyatta has no way, because he's very slow, to get to the rest of the composition.
Right.
So when San Francisco Shock goes all the way around the point, the Hangzhou Spark are like, well, we don't have to worry about that Zen. He's never going to get to you. So we have a free 6 versus 5.
You just run into
We just
him.
run at him.
Why not? Yeah. All right, well, Shock have regrouped. Now they're coming in with some ultimates. They've used a lot of time out of their time bank already, though. They need to win a fight right now, and Rhea back in position again. Oh, they're not going through security, though. So Rhea needs to rotate around. Looks like it's going to be a high guard attack, trying to knock Spark off of that second level, but it's just going to be the grab. Tossed in there. Self-destruct. They've got him bottled up. And he kills out of that one. Gets Choyabin out of his mech, at least. That's already bad for Shock. They lost both of their tanks. And this is just a massacre, man.
Shock used all 3 of their support ultimates right there. Just layered them on top of each other in that hallway. But because they were trapped there was not really a way for them not to take huge amounts of damage.
I mean,
the Spark.
Shock have basically one last fight to try to take point A, and if they don't, this is going to be one of the strongest defenses we've ever seen on Hollywood from Spark.
Hey, Super's going to have the Earth Shatter of his life.
Rhea back in position again. Let's see if he can get him. There's going to be IDK coming in with the sound barrier. Gets it on pretty much everybody. On everybody, in fact. And now Spark having to wait. Shock waiting out that sound barrier, letting the shields go away. That's smart. Super now has the Shatter ready to go. Spark looking to jump down on top of this. 1 tick taken already. So Spark looking a little bit hesitant now. Godspeed does have the grab, though. They're going to drop it in. Choyabin, nothing with the Graviton Surge. Now the grab. There's the charge coming through. No Smite's going to get Rascal. That's a 5v6 for Spark now, but no Smite down. Super taken out soon to follow, though. It's become a brawl on the point. No kills out of that self-destruct, but Spark slowly but surely whittling away the members of San Francisco Shock. They're into the cafe, but it's closing time. Spark shutting the door on the possibilities of Shock taking point A. That's going to be it. A full hold for Hangzhou Spark. They only gave up 1 tick to the Shock.
If I didn't see the colors on these teams, I would have guessed this was, the Shock was last week's Spark, and the Spark were last week's Shock.
I don't know, and any given evening, it seems like at the Overwatch League, this stage, so back and forth between so many teams here.
That was truly awful from the Shock. They didn't respect anybody's positioning. They didn't seem to have any idea what they were doing on their approaches. They wasted a ton of time running around the point at a player disadvantage.
I mean, that was like my plat games. It's like,
it was
let's try going left. Let's try going right.
I'm really confused. I don't know what Rascal is supposed to do in this composition when they've typically been playing Architect on that Brigitte.
Yeah, I don't know. We will see if Shock is able to really turn this one around, but they're going to need to get a Herculean hold here. And of course, don't forget Boston Uprising versus Toronto Defiant in a few days. Same place right here. Catch it on Twitch, ESPN3, Disney XD, #ad. There you go. It's going to be a fun time, though. Make sure you watch. Now, Shock trying to get their defense going here, but they have to pretty much... I mean, what do you do, right? Spark only needs to take just over the first tick here. It's 53.9% for them to win this map. It's not looking good for San Francisco, but, you know, stranger things have happened.
What I will say about San Francisco is they're very good at playing around Zarya on the high ground, and when Sinatra gets that high ground Zarya automatically on the defense, maybe they can do something with it.
Here we go. Shock needs a monumental hold if they want to win this map. Spark can play it slow. They're under, no rush here. They can do a couple attacks, do a couple pokes, build some ultimates, and then kind of go for it. They can just try to steamroll too. They've got that high ground when they jump down. See if Shock can handle it. Right now, the poke war, trying to build some ult charge, but sending that diva around to the side. Rhea going to be providing a threat from behind. Providing threat onto the point here as Shock runs up, speed boosted on the high ground. They're going to switch positions. And Spark now looking like the defenders again, and they've won a lot of fights from this position. Rhea trying to build up that ultimate. Already nearly one tick for Hangzhou Spark as Shock comes back in again. Retaking the point. It's a dance. An elaborate dance.
It's a ring around the rosy between the high ground and the point right now, but the tick was taken there, or has not been taken yet, excuse me, by the Spark. They're gonna try it one more time.
Yep. All right, they're gonna swap again. Shock wanting that high ground drop down advantage. They're gonna drop down immediately. Super though, gotta watch out. He's got the ultimate right now, that Earth Shatter online. Spark a little bit split up here.
We're just gonna go in circles.
Watch this all day, man. I think
the Shock are just dropping when the Hangzhou Spark are about to take that first tick at 33%.
It's like when the Velociraptors were chasing those kids around in Jurassic Park. They just kept switching positions.
Yeah, except, you know,
the kids escaped. And this time, I don't know if Shock's gonna get out of this one alive. Spark coming in. They've got the ultimates now. It's gonna be Transcendence first for Shock. They got the rally as well. Rhea knocked down by that Earth Shatter, but not a lot else being done from that Reinhardt ultimate. Spark in prime position to come back on this one. And we'll see if they can finish it off. They're going to the Transcendence. There's another Earth Shatter coming down. Violet taken off by No Smite, got charged. The shield from Lucio a little bit too late, but Shock! Whoa, they're able to swing this run around big time.
They lost track of Sinatra, and Sinatra went up to the high ground, ran all the way around the Spark formation, dropped on them, and then hit them with that Graviton Surge, which just sucked everybody into that point, and he was just dealing crazy damage to them.
After all that, Sinatra cranks out the IQ 400 plays and manages to eventually fake out Spark. So now Spark coming back in. They've still got a couple ultimates to use. Meanwhile, Shock has Super's Earth Shatter again, ready to go. Shock back on the point. I feel like I've seen this before. Oh, but this time they catch Moth. All right, now it's a little bit of a different story. The 6v5 advantage going to Spark for now. And Godsby's got the grab. He's just gonna lob it in there. Violet does get the kill on the No Smite, but Choyo been down. Super in a lot of trouble, loses his shield. Not much health left. He has to hide. There's no way he can contribute until he gets healing. Choyo Bin's out of the mech. Super has to get back in there. He got some shield charge back. He's rejoined the fight, but Rascal is down. Now the grab comes in, and Bebe right there with the Transcendence. The Earth Shatter looks scary, but they do have the healing. It doesn't matter, though. Shock still, in the end, able to get the kills they were looking for.
Moth made
what a crazy fight.
And the Trance actually didn't come into the Graviton. They managed to get supports. The Spark supports caught in the Graviton and kill them before the Trance came in from Bebe. And all of a sudden, Shock might actually do this.
We said it's possible. It wasn't likely, but it is possible. Just 10 seconds left for Shock to hold to win this map and tie up the series. Hangzhou Spark, desperation mode as they try to get on there. Cosby nearly has his Graviton Surge though. Oh, but IDK down though. Violet with a huge pick. Spark has to fight at 5v6. And the grab, ready to go for Cosby. He gets stunned though. Cosby in trouble. No Smite down already. This grab has to be huge. Choyobin throws in the self-destruct. No kills, but it's a sound barrier on the side of Shock to keep them in the game, and they are getting the kills to close this one out. I cannot believe it. One of the greatest holds I have ever seen in Overwatch. San Francisco Shock somehow managed to do it. They will win Hollywood and tie this series up.
Shock woke up at the end there. I think they realized they were sort of on autopilot. They made some really interesting plays to actually pull out that map win.
Saw Moth wiping his brow at the end of that one. That is a stressful round to go through, but they did it. We're in for a great series. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places. We've got a good one on our hands to close out the night. After the Spark took our first map, the Shock come charging back. And look at this. We're all tied up one apiece. It's Bren, it's Zoe, it's Puckett. We're back to talk all the first half action. And when we were watching the games in the back, we couldn't stop talking about the tanks. Zoe, Bren, what were we looking at, especially on that first map?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because in a lot of our minds, this is supposed to be very Shock favored, and it's ended up kind of going all over the place a little bit. And we've seen multiple different main tanks in the game. So it started out, we got Smurf, we got Gushui on either side. They got subbed out a little bit later. But all around, I was just a little bit confused by the way Shock were playing this. Shock are a good team, but they're playing this as if they were a bad team. I'm going to be real with you.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that they're opening with these compositions, they're switching it up, they're losing their ultimates because they're swapping their heroes midway through the round, and they're giving the Hangzhou Spark an advantage because of that. And Hangzhou are looking radically better than they did the other day.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of hero swaps. Do you think that they just had a bad game plan every time coming out of the gates, or why did we see so many swaps throughout that first game in your eyes?
It's honestly really hard to tell because it just looked like they were all over the place. I'm not quite sure if the communication was an issue there or what exactly it was. Maybe they were unprepared, but that can't really be it either because we know exactly what to expect from Spark coming in if we're seeing who is playing. Like, it's no surprise that we're going to see Gushui on that control map. So they should be prepared for the kind of aggression he's also bringing to the team. So I'm not quite sure whether they were caught off guard in every regard.
I'll be honest, Shock looked a bit off their game, especially when we went into Hollywood. When are we seeing the Shock not make it to point 3 in a hybrid? Let's take a look at some of the highlights here. Some of the good ones, though, are on the other side.
Yeah.
No Smite comes back in the action here for the Spark, and some great charges to kick things off before slowing down in the second half, Brett.
Looking so good for Spark, wasn't it? Opening up again. I mean, Shock, they look out of sorts. They look a little bit lost during this match. And Spark, they're looking fantastic. Or at least that's what we thought going into it. And then the side switch round, suddenly Shock are defending, and they managed to get a full hold on the first point. This is almost unheard of. This never happens.
We have to talk about the kill differential we had. After round 1, Shock had one single
They
kill.
had one kill.
One kill.
One kill,
That's
Bucky.
it.
One
That's
kill.
all they got. And it took them like third of the second half to accumulate more kills than one. So I don't know what happened.
Looking at the final numbers here, Brent, break it down for me. It looks like, to me, Super has a bit of an advantage. We've seen 4 tanks through 2 games so far for these 2 teams. Who do you want to see in the second half? Who steps up?
I want to see Super as well continue to play in this game. I don't think Super's a bad main tank by any means. And there's a little narrative going around. People are being, you know, disrespecting him a little bit, putting disrespect on the Super name. I think he's actually quite a good main tank. I want to see him as well continue to perform later into this series.
Zoe, do you got the Spark winning this one, or are you going with the Shock?
I mean, we all predicted the Spark, right? On the test that it happened, so I guess I'm sticking to it. No, I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with it. Godspeed really impressed. 81% average energy is what he had during the majority of the game, so you know he's gonna bring it home for them.
So he's going with the Spark. Brent, close out halftime. Who wins the final match of the night?
I think Shock are getting back into their A game. I think Shock are going to be taking this one.
Well, I want to give a shout out to everyone watching us on Disney XD, and of course, let us know in the chat, who do you think's winning this one? The second half is just moments away.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League. We have got a pretty exciting series on our hands. It's 1-1. I say exciting. Monty is kind of, that's the Monty face that says, but it wasn't high-level Overwatch. But you know what, Monty? Sometimes it's just fun, all right? It's silliness. They were just running around from the bottom floor to the top floor over and over again without any apparent purpose, and that entertained me, all right? Just give me that.
It sort of entertained me in a way.
It entertained all of us. Yeah, well, let's check this out. We got some substitutions coming in. It's going to be Nevix come in for Choi Bin. That's right, making the swap at the flex position. Flex tank, usually the Diva, and the one, the only, Adora coming in for Bezzy on the side of Hangzhou Spark.
Okay, I like this swap.
Do you?
Yeah, Adora dies on average 5 times less per 10 minutes while playing on Brigitte than Bezzy does. Doesn't quite do as much healing, but I think you take that massively fewer number of deaths for 10 minutes every time.
Well, with less deaths, you're doing more consistent healing.
That's true.
So that's the thing. Maybe Bezzy does a lot of healing, you know, because he's in the front lines, hitting everybody with his left click, but then he dies. Whereas Adora, perhaps a little bit more healing as he lives longer and stretches out over the fight. We will see. Getting things started on Temple of Anubis. It's going to be Hangzhou Spark on the defense first. San Francisco Shock on the attack. Here we go.
Yeah, both teams going to be running the Reinhardt, so this choke battle is the most important part of the map now for both of these teams.
Right.
They are going to be running mirror compositions.
That's true. Sinatra in a little bit of trouble, but it's going to be Super that falls first. No Smite got low, but he got healed up as well and grabs a couple of kills for himself, and the Spark send the Shock back to the generator.
Yeah, and right there, you see them just speed boosting out. They disengage at the right time. Nevix falling actually allows them to escape because they have to kill both the mecha suit on the Diva as well as the pilot Diva.
Yeah.
They'll try for attempt number 2 right now for the Shock into the choke point.
Indeed. Well, that was a really bold move by Violet, man. He just cruised across that opening without any protection at all. Super, though, speaking of protection, he needs it, but he doesn't get it. Down again. No Smite drops the Earth Shatter, but it's kind of unnecessary as that fight was pretty much over already as soon as Reinhardt fell.
They tried to leave Nevix there just in case, but they should be able to retreat out of this. Super, again, isolated. He got chunked out massively at the start of this. He doesn't have a lot of healing if his Brigitte is not hitting people with her flail and triggering that Inspire area of effect heal.
Very true. That said, both Brigittas have the rally. They're going to go ahead and use them. There's going to be the Graviton Surge for Spark. Super again in trouble. Taken out. No Smite with 2 kills again, just swinging away. And now Spark goes on the chase. They get a couple on the way out. And man, if they can get a big stagger on the Nevix. Oh, they defected him right at the end. That is awful for Shock.
That's so bad.
Because now if Nevix wants his mech back, he has to swap. He has to swap heroes, and then he loses all that ultimate charge. You can see he's not willing to do that.
Yeah, that means, though, that they're going to have to take this push even slower because he has to poke there with his little pistol, trying to get his mech back, get up to 100% ult charge. However, Hangzhou, they did use the Graviton Surge, so San Francisco Shock going to be coming in here. A nice ult economy in just a few seconds.
Notice Moth up on top, looking for an opportunity to jump down behind the Reinhardt and knock him into his own team. Not going to find that opportunity, though, but those Lucios always going to be bouncing around up there. Nevix does get his mech back, which is nice, and that's going to be the go button. They're charging in now. Shock trying to make it happen. Graviton Surge ready to go for Sinatra. They've got Spark backed into the corner. Spark with a lot of ultimates to respond with, too. They got to keep those supports safe, though. If they're going to weather this storm, Smite drops Ear Shatter, gets 2. That's going to be the sound barrier from Shock, though, in response. Meanwhile, Bebe drops the Transcendence. Here come the self-destructs. Kills. There goes Bebe. They got 1 on the Shock side, and now Super lands. Well, it's a Shatter, but it's not the best in the world. That said, Shock's still fighting this one short-handed. So it's going to be an opportunity for them to finish this off, and that's going to be it. Point A. Lockdown by San Francisco Shock. They'll take it.
Yeah, they're going to get that. And even though Bebe had the sound barrier on him, the proximity of that mech just a little bit too close in the self-destruct. It can do up to 1,000 damage.
Yep.
So if you position it perfectly, even if you have all of the 800 barrier from the Lucio, you technically still can kill that Zenyatta, and it was just enough.
Shock wasting no time and dashing towards the cave here, too. They know they've got a little window where they've got some ultimates coming up. They've got the momentum, and they're going to try to use it to seal the deal, get themselves a nice big time bank here on Anubis. Rally coming in for Spark. And Shock just gonna back away, wait that out. No, they're gonna drop down the grab. They're gonna go for it, no smite, take it out. That's another 2 kills for Super. He has been so eager to get in there and connect with the hammer. Another 2 dropped by the Earthshatter, and Shock may have just done it. They've got to deal with the respawns here, but they have put themselves in a position to get a very good time on Temple of Anubis. Spark can't even get back to defend the point. And that is going to be a pretty large time bank for San Francisco.
Yeah, a few errors at the beginning right there, especially, and some problems that they had to face, especially with Nevix getting demeched, losing them a lot of time. But here you go. Here's a nice Earth Shatter for you from Super Sinatra. That's a great play from Sinatra.
Yeah.
There's no way to defensive matrix that. They bait them into the corner, and really, truly, the Spark should have never been on that corner. You don't fight for corners you don't have to take.
Yep. I mean, Super understanding how to turn those early kills into a teamfight win, too, knowing that if he chased down the supports with his Earth Shadow, there'd be no way to defend against that.
I mean, it was good from the Shock to follow up on a positional error by the Spark, but the thing about Overwatch is fighting for corners is very important because you get that cover as the defending team, but you don't have to walk into that choke point because the Shock have to come to you to take the point. So exposing yourself to that kind of Graviton Surge is a bit of a question mark.
Indeed. So now we flip things up a little bit. Hangzhou Spark going on the attack here. San Francisco Shock will be defending. They're going to be defending with the 3-3 based around the Reinhardt. Spark with some interesting hero choices in the lobby, but I don't think they're going to stick around with this. I'd love to see some Ashe, of course, some more Hammond, but I think we're going to see some swaps. Gosby might take a couple shots on that Widowmaker, though. We'll see.
Yeah, might take a peek here. Nope, we're not going to go for it. IDK will switch back to the Lucio.
Yeah.
And it will be the exact same compositions for both teams and the exact same scenario we saw on the San Francisco Shock attack, and probably the exact same route as Hangzhou Spark should swing left through the door.
Standard stuff here on Temple of Anubis.
They're going to try and take high ground. That is a little bit risky, but now that they know there's a Reinhardt, it is less problematic.
I mean, now they're just going to get poked like crazy in that room. Yeah. That's a rough one. All right. Going to rotate around now. Ooh, no smite, a little bit separated from his team. You be careful here, Moth looking for the boop. Ooh, can't quite get it. Spark jetting their way into that upper hallway just in time. They're going to be able to take that high ground. So they've got the position they want. Waiting it out, getting people healed up. Ooh, they're going to rotate back around. All right, trying to charge in now. Just going through the front door. Going across the bridge. They've got Shock back on the point.
I mean, okay, but they need to do something. They're not actually pressuring the objective very hard. Finally, they're getting onto it.
Yeah, the hesitancy that we saw in Hollywood kind of showing itself again here on Temple of Anubis, it seems like. Rascal down. Okay, they managed to grind 1 kill out. All right, hey, you'll take it if you're the Spark. Coming in now. A lot of low health members, though. Shock still with a chance to turn this one around. Bebe has that Transcendence in case things get too hairy. There we go. Perfect use as the Graviton Surge comes out. Super does kill Adora during all of that. And now, Bebe pops his Transcendence. Adora gets killed with the charge, actually. Self-destruct comes in. No kills on that one, but now no smite without his shield. Got to be careful. That grab catches Super and Violet. They're going to get him with the charge. Super really low. They finish him off. And Spark, it's a grind. But they're going to get A eventually.
Way too many ults were used in that fight from both teams. I can't believe Spark bought into that. I mean, the Shock committed so much at the end of that engagement, including their Transcendence. And Hangzhou, you have to believe that they didn't have to use that Graviton Surge. Godspeed could be heading into B with that right now, but hey, I think they panicked a little bit.
Spark takes point A, about 6 minutes in the time bank to take B. A real opportunity here for them to get more time even than the Shock did if they can do this quickly. Rally used by Shock as they come in. IDK forced to respond with that sound barrier. His team those extra shields as they push forward. Super in big trouble. He's going to go down. They've been so good in these last couple of fights of peeling Super off for the rest of the team.
I mean, they lost their only 2 ults, Doa. They lost the sound barrier because Moth went down as well.
Yep, that's huge. 1 tick taken, make it 2 for Shock, or for Spark rather. Shock with 1 more chance to come and try to defend this. They're gonna drop the Earth Shatter instead. Super coming in with the Zarya shield on top of him. Nobody with his ultimate, and now the grab for Spark again. Sound barrier to try to keep people up. Great boop, sets up the double kill for Rhea with that self-destruct. Spark got him right where they wanted him, and now it's just about handling those respawns as long as they can live. Nice shield. No Smite gets in there just at the end, and that is a great round for Spark.
Yeah, sound barrier came down too early for Moth, so there wasn't enough overshield protection to handle the self-destruct coming in from Hangzhou.
Man, great play at the end for No Smite, man. His team caught up in the grab. He jumps in front of the shield, saves him. Quick break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Temple of Anubis. Both teams able to complete their attack runs. Hangzhou Spark doing it a bit faster though. 5:03 in the time bank. Let's take a look at this replay though from Bebe. Managing to save No Smite. Check that out. 10 HP. 10 hit points left for that Reinhardt. That is a clutch transcendence if I've ever seen one. San Francisco Shock now attacking first as they have a bit less time in their time bank. 3:52 to start things off with as they go on the assault one more time.
And then you see a much better attack here on A from the San Francisco Shock. Took him quite a long time to bust through this initial choke point.
IDK, we know an aggressive Lucio he is, making the difference. No Smite down early though, so this attack in a little bit of trouble here.
I mean, it's basically even because the Diva has been debacked on the side of the Spark.
I suppose. Losing that Reinhardt hurts a bit, though.
I mean, they can just wait right now. Shock has no impetus because they can poke out of this. They took the high ground, and they're going to have the faster respawns. This is great. This is absolutely great for the Shock.
Spark. Rhea does get his mech back again. Even better for the Shock are the kills they've been able to get on the two supports, catching Adora and Bebe off guard, and that's going to be a quick point, eh? Spark already pulling back. IDK just decides to take the death taxi back to spawn.
I mean, that was a really good trade of eliminations there for the Shock. Even though they only got one, getting the mech is as good as an elimination, and it gets you free access to the choke point. Super just going to charge his way into the front line, trying to make sure this snowball works for them. No ults are up yet. Violet the closest here.
Yeah, you got to make sure that Reinhardt shield's in the front. You know, they may just decide, okay, they're going around the right side. Trying to charge in with the Lucio. They're going to jump over the wall there. But Nevik's getting pretty low. Violet as well. Shock may have run right into some serious danger here. Sinatra, though, charge up, but there goes Violet. He drops the grab, but they've already lost their Zenyatta. Can they win this fight shorthanded? No, they lose Super as well. And Spark able to weather that Graviton Surge, and I think Sinatra may have been a little bit too quick on the trigger with that one.
Yeah, you traded for the Transcendence, but that's not an amazing trade if you are the San Francisco Shock.
The Transcendence is just going to come back faster in most cases. We do have, I mean, if anyone's going to build the grab fast, it's going to be Sinatra, but average, I think, if you look at it, the Transcendence is going to come up a little bit sooner.
And you could be Sinatra, and you could be a great Zarya player, but you still have no charge, which is going to hurt you when it comes to building that Graviton Surge quickly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shock. Trying again. Hopping from rooftop to rooftop. Pretty agile for a Reinhardt, I gotta say.
Yeah, he can really move around for a man in a giant full suit of armor.
It's technology for you, man. Can't explain that. Goodbye, Super. You can explain that. He got charged by No Smite, cut off from the rest of his team, and now Spark with another 6v5. Shock a lot of ultimates, but I don't know. Do you commit anything to this? I'd be pretty wary to do that, especially with Nevix out of the equation as well. And yeah, Shock doing the intelligent thing here, just kind of letting everybody die and going back to spawn, saving those ultimates, but you look at the Spark side too, and they're going to have nearly everything available for them as well.
On a lot of these defenses, Noah, on Hollywood and now on Anubis, Spark has had to use very few ultimates. In fact, no ultimates a lot of the time in order to hold. It will be 6 versus 5. It's probably going to be Shock's best opportunity with only a minute 20 left.
Yeah, you're running out of time at this point if you're San Francisco. You need to make something happen fast. They have all 6 ultimates. It does not get any better than this. Rally now for Shock as they come in, but they lose Rascal. How in the world do you lose people like that? They just ran into the wood chipper, and Spark just roasts him.
I mean, he got stunned. What do you say? I'm confused that
Why is that
Rascal
Brigitte
is
up
even
there?
playing on this map as Brigitte because we just haven't seen anything else that is a typical Rascal hero.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, is that Brigitte got a little bit too far up.
They used Rally for nothing, too.
Yep. Well,
So now Spark is going to have an ultimate advantage on what will be the last fight of this round.
36 seconds remaining for San Francisco Shock as they go for a last-ditch attack here in their extra round of Time Bank here on Temple of Anubis. We're all tied up in this series. They'd really love to take the lead, but if they can't win a fight here, they're in serious trouble. There's a grab, okay. Violet has to pop that Transcendence early. They're going to send in the self-destruct later. Super has to turn his shield. Now self-destruct comes in. They do get IDK. So Shock with an opportunity here to push forward. Spark has already used their shield. We're going to go into overtime either way, though. No smite down. And Shock just kind of rolling over Spark. They were able to pull it out in the end. That self-destruct, taking out IDK. So crucial. The barrier was a little bit early there. Now the Mei wall comes out. IDK swapping over to that hero just to try to stall as long as he can. But I don't know, man. It's going to be really, really tough to turn this one around for Shock. They've got some people up now, but they've got another Transcendence on the Shock side. Adora down again. There's the grab, but you need a decisive win if you're going to force Shock off of that one. Moth does go down. Spark trying to turn it around. I don't know, though, but no smite knockdown. That probably saved Violet as well, and I think Shock should have this one all locked up at this point. More respawns to deal with, but it's looking good for San Francisco.
I mean, they're slowly getting that percent up right now, and they are eventually going to grind this point out.
I think eventually.
Super.
Oh, Super! He's down. Well, I don't know, man. Spark, they might have an opportunity here.
Oh, that
Crazy
anti-heal by the Ana might be, in fact, enough, though. They hit him with the biotic grenade.
It's a race of respawns now, but look, there's Rio with the self-destruct. Rascal gets his shield up in time. They've got more people from Shock back on the point. 99.3% right now for Shock to take.
Blizzard.
But IDK, that's a Blizzard. It's a great Mei wall as well, and they might have done it. Are you kidding me? Crazy turnarounds, but no! Now Shock comes back again. Sinatra with the Sombra swap. That was a crazy end of that round. Shock in overtime gets it done.
Super getting back there quickly. Same with Sinatra on the Wrecking Ball and the Sombra using their movement abilities just to get back to the point.
What can you say?
That was very clutch. Finishing the map like that, that would be a great burden off of the San Francisco Shock and force the Spark to come through and capture both points. But they do have plenty of time at 5 minutes.
I mean, that's the thing is Spark was able to make it happen, but only just barely. Deep in overtime were they able to take that second point. Let's take a look at this. It's amazing that Sinatra was actually able to make the swap to Sombra and get the EMP. He even dodged the Blizzard, which I'm kind of shocked about too. No pun intended.
Yeah, and also Super coming in there, getting the overshields onto the Hammond, making it work with Sinatra, yeah, just squeaking out of that Blizzard and getting the EMP, preventing a lot of those abilities from being used on the frozen members of his team. Actually didn't hit anybody with EMP.
I was going to say,
turns out
zero.
He missed it.
Well, yeah, he still got 70 limbs there, man. I mean, for that swap at the last minute, and you don't need to necessarily, I mean, it's nice if you hit the EMP, but he got the hacks, and that's important. So now, Shock on the defense, Hangzhou Spark on the attack, 5 minutes and 3 seconds. In the time bank. Plenty of time for them to take 2 points and have time to spare if they're able to execute it like they did the first time around. Let's watch.
Let's watch. They're going to try the approach here on the right to take the high ground. Speed boosting over. Super's going to get a couple good swings in there. Already there at 30%, so did some damage.
Well, Shock manages to claim the high ground without losing anybody. That's ideal. But like you said,
where's Spark going right now? Okay, so they're just pushing out slowly. Looked like they were trying to potentially think about dropping right there. Super already on the point.
Well, you've got Godsby up on the high ground too, just roasting people with that Zarya. Building up that charge pretty quick. Already over 30%. You gotta drop down some point. That's what they're gonna do. Don't want to use up too much time on the time bank. Sinatra gets a shield on himself. Needs that healing. Now it's going to be Spark on point A. Super's got to be careful here. He has died a lot early on in some of these fights. You can tell the focus onto Super, onto Sinatra for these tanks. But The percentage building up for Spark. Oh no, no smite down. The Transcendence comes in, but it's too late. They've already lost their Reinhardt, and now it's a scramble for Spark to try to close this point out. But Shock looking pretty good here. Rascal, as soon as I say that, goes down though. Violet responding, super low health. If they can finish off Super, Spark has a chance to grind this fight out. Bebe looking for it, gets Sinatra before he gets taken out himself by Nevix. Graviton Surge comes in, and with the sound barrier, Shock able to claim ownership over this point again.
Oh, that's bad too. IDK had an ineffective sound barrier at the end of that, so the Spark will have one fewer ultimate. Godspeed also throwing out the Graviton Surge. So Hangzhou Spark, if they hadn't used those ults, they probably could have just come back and capped, but now they've sort of equalized themselves with the Shock.
There's been a bit of indecisiveness sometimes from the Spark. We saw it on Hollywood, and now I feel like we're seeing it a little bit on the Anubis attack right now as well. They're going in, they gotta commit, self-destruct just to push Shock off the high ground, it looks like there. Spark has the rally, letting that armor build up as they rotate. And charging onto the point now, Rhea up on the high ground. It's gonna be the self-destruct. Comes down, nobody hit by that one. Super in a little bit of trouble, Violet.
Playing a dangerous game right there by himself on that flank. That's a position you pop out of the wrong time and you can just instantly die.
I was gonna say, I thought we were gonna see Violet die in just a moment there, but no, he lives. Spark got pushed back. And now Spark trying to regroup, taking the high ground again.
I mean, Spark has been so indecisive both on Hollywood and here.
Yeah, it's bizarre to see them kind of operate this way. Going down the point now. If they can get a kill on the Super, that's going to be huge. A Super. Oh, that's the Shatter gets blocked by Super, actually. Violet with the self-destruct, or not self-destruct. He's got the trance out. Not self-destruct on anybody. Now Shock has the grab back in there, and Super grabs two again. So Spark, when it comes down to it, in the high-pressure scenarios, they just have not been able to get it done.
No, they're just walking around waiting for an advantage, but that advantage never appears, and now Rhea's going to get brutally staggered here.
That is savage, man.
That's Hangzhou Spark struggling to even cap point A. They do have time, but they reset their own ult economy again. Godspeed at least coming up with that Graviton Surge. So this is their big opportunity. This might be their biggest opportunity.
You got to do something. Already down to a minute 30.
I mean, your combo's going to get canceled out by the sound barrier, though.
Quite possible. Moth nearly has that ready to go. Super with a nice fire strike.
That was a good one.
That was very devastating, actually. Did not get blocked by the Diva. Going in with the rally again. Our Spark, they're going to push Super back down onto the low ground. Now the grab comes in for Spark. This is the one that needs to do a lot. The boop comes in, they get Sinatra. That works out, but Rhea gets caught as well. Now the Shatter comes through. Where's the follow-up? The sound barrier protecting the members of Spark rather, as they lie prone. And now No Smite tried to go in with his Earth Shatter. He's gonna be okay here. Shock responding, Super comes right back with a Fire Strike kill onto Adora. And Spark scrambling now. They've got one more attack, and they're going to lose another map if they can't make it happen right here, right now.
I mean, Moth's sound barriers have been late on these combos, or actually early, excuse me, because they've been actually eliminating members of his own team as the shield fades away. He's not playing around Rhea's self-destruct very well. Nevix saved them with his own self-destruct elimination. If that hadn't happened, that fight would have really been on the Lucio on Moth.
Well, we'll see. Rascal has the rally still ready to go. He's going to use it at the moment. Shock just trying to hold him right at the door. They're going to break through. Godspeed, he gets his Graviton Surge eaten by Nevix. Good start for Shock as they try to hold on for just a bit longer and win this map, but Adora is down. Shock with a 6v5 now. Whip shot. Working out well. There goes IDK. Rascal getting two now. Sinatra's grab gets eaten, but Spark has already lost a few members. How do you win this one shorthanded as we go into overtime here? Rhea gets demeched. Nevix with another one. And man, I think that is all she wrote for Spark. IDK. That stands for I don't know how Spark is going to win this fight. The answer is they won't. Nevix eats Godspeed's grab, and that's it. Shock will win another map off a great defense and take the lead in this series.
Nevix ate 2 ults on that last push. Very nicely done.
Yeah. Well, what a crazy map that was. Shock again coming up with the big defensive efforts. A quick break, guys, and we'll be back with map number 4.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League. The San Francisco Shock take the lead in the series after that great defensive effort on Temple of Anubis. But you look at these teams, it hasn't exactly been the cleanest affair as far as the Overwatch we've been seeing tonight. But Shock able to at least come up big in this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a stat night for Monty, guys.
the way I feel about it is that the Spark have been given some really good opportunities to
Sure.
win on their attack rounds, and they spend so much time running around in circles, not doing anything, that they're unable to capitalize on these really, really huge advantages that they have, and it's been weird.
I mean, it's not so weird, actually. If you think about the team names themselves, you've got Spark and Shock. They're just like positive and negative, you know, just kind of circling around each other. It's just science, Monty.
It's just science. They
how
actually
these
can't fight
forces
each other.
interact, yeah.
They're just repelling each other like two magnets.
Pretty much, yeah. I was an art major. Don't question me on these things. There you go. Well, let's take a look at the Diva matchup from that last one. It was Rhea versus Nevix, of course. And Nevix coming up with quite a few, I believe, eating two Graviton Surges at the end of that last map, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, this has been obviously quite strange. I think Rhea has had some really good self-destruct combos in combination with Godspeed's Graviton Surge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Moth hasn't been on point with the sound barrier timings, which I feel like has really caused a lot of these kills to happen. He's been sound burying super early in a lot of these fights,
right,
so that by the time the self-destruct comes in, the overshield is almost worn off because it does tick down over time.
So from Rio in our last match to Rhea in this one, if these two teams ever play each other, it's going to be a problem. But for now, Spark needs to find a way to tie this series up. And again, you know, the big theme for Hangzhou Spark coming into this series was which Spark are we going to see, right? And I feel like I was expecting we were going to see either good Spark or bad Spark. We're seeing just kind of like indecisive Spark in this one. It's kind of like this third version we've never encountered before, where I just kind of walk around points without really ever doing anything.
I feel like we're seeing pretty good defensive Spark combined with awful offensive Spark.
It's a weird
It's
night,
really
man.
weird.
I don't know. Let's take a look at some substitutions. It's going to be Choi Hyobin coming back in, subbing in for Nevix at the flex tank role.
I still haven't figured out San Francisco Shock's subbing strategy. When Nevix plays, when Choi Hyobin plays.
You got people back there rolling a dice.
Equally, Revenge coming in for Bebe. I still haven't figured out how Spark is using these two support players and what exactly they bring to the team.
Well, we'll find out. Bezzy back in for Adora. Now, they played a lot more, Bezzy, in their matches here than Adora so far.
I think Bezzy makes sense because this, at least when we go to Route 66, has a level of flexibility on it.
True.
Where you could see Bezzy playing some other things. That one I get.
Sure.
Revenge, I think, has been pretty consistently a downgrade over Bebe. And for the Shock, I mean, here we have Rascal in for this entire match, apparently, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever because they've spent all of their matches this season grooming Architect in order to play the Brigitte role, and Architect is a very, very, very flexible player himself. So if you're not going to use any Rascal specialist heroes like the Pharah, why are you playing Rascal in this match?
I mean, don't get us wrong. Rascal is also known for his flexibility in the DPS role. So, but like you said, if they're not going to actually have him do that, then why swap him out?
Right. When you already have Architect on that Brigitte, and you've been playing at a very high level with Architect on the Brigitte.
Yeah. All right, well, as you're getting some free shots, just right down the train car, right through the Reinhardt shield, into the Zarya shield. Got to be careful there. Has to back away. Now and Moth down. Revenge gets him with the Sonic Arrow. Can you see me now? Sinatra takes out Godsby as well. IDK manages to get the res, actually, so this Bastion is still in action, and Shock may have to run here.
I mean, they got the Orisa, though, so they're going to be fine in the end. It's still going to be a 5 versus 4 here for the Shock. Well, not anymore.
That is a brave thing, Godsby. Yep. Bezzy gets 2.
Wow.
Here we go. Guess why you put this guy back in? This is why you put this guy back in.
There you go. That's why you put him in, because you have a different plan. Now, that is a fight that should have been won by the Shock, but Bezzy turns it on its head with the Widowmaker by getting the pickoffs that allow the rest of his teammates to respawn and run back to the formation. So it was looking great for the Shock before Bezzy started clicking on heads.
Wow, they're just going to send the Dragon Strike right through the cart. They're making sure that Shock has to turn back around again.
That's a delay tactic, and
great delay.
You know, the Shock are going to try and break this with a triple tank, triple support, but this is hard to approach this high ground.
I mean, that Coalescence does a lot of damage. Gatsby in trouble here. Super just runs in and knocks him off with a hammer. No Smite does take out Rascal, who is pretty far forward yet again. IDK once more manages to get the Mercy res, and that's going to let Gatsby use his Bastion ultimate right now. It's a lot of damage going into Shock. They need to back out. Oh, but he gets stunned in return by Super's Earthshatter. Manages to just barely live long enough to jump back into turret form, but doesn't really get any damage done. Meanwhile, that Dragon Strike absorbed by Choyobin. Spark in trouble, and finally, Shock get that payload really moving.
We'll generously call Sinatra's Graviton Surge a zoning grab there, because it did, in fact, zone out the Bastion in the tank mode from trying to mow down the rest of the team. That is a generous description of it.
Fair enough. You're so kind.
But they're still going to be coming in with a little bit of a difficulty. Violet had the only ultimate up, but that Coalescence cuts through those barriers and got them the first kill.
Revenge going to be looking for some as he's first to fall in this fight. There goes Moth, though. Now Violet nearly up to another Coalescence again on this Moira. Spark have to find a way to drop down onto this. No Smite with a very low amount of health here. It's going to be tough to make it happen. Self-destruct catches Godspeed in the back, and you're not going to win a lot of fights when your Zarya dies first, as we've seen so far in the Overwatch League this year, and that will be a fight going to Shock. They're going to finish point A.
Yeah, Shock looking a lot more decisive on this attack round than we've seen so far. Finally going to be moving up onto some high ground here with a heavy ultimate advantage. And after that swap, Hangzhou held on for a little bit there, but now they've had to reset their ults by changing out all of their heroes. So Shock should have a relatively easy ride here through the first part of point B.
And when you look at Route 66, generally B is going to be your easiest point in this map. It's really A and C that give you the most trouble as the attacker. Sinatra, though, lurking, ready to descend from the heavens with that Graviton Surge. That's exactly what he's going to do. Oh, they are all over him. Woo.
I mean,
that was horrifying.
The Graviton Coalescence combo is pretty strong, Doa, because you can have those barriers. You can try and block it with a Reinhardt shield, but it just won't do anything at all. Cuts through your entire team while they're clustered up.
Base jumping does not look as fun as it looks on some of the videos I've seen. I don't know.
Well, you have to wear a special suit for that.
Oh, that's
I wouldn't recommend doing it without it.
I see where he did it wrong now. Got it.
But you know, there's no fall damage in Overwatch, so.
Well, sometimes, unless you fall off the edge. There's no coming back from that. Spark has a lot of ultimates coming into this next defensive fight. We'll see if Shock can keep pushing here. Bezian no Smite the front line there. It's going to be the rally coming in from both sides. Sinatra just bouncing up and down on top of the payload, doing a lot of damage on that Zarya. They're going to actually get the Transcendence out from Revenge. That's a little bit surprising here. Now the grab comes in. Self-destruct gets Sinatra. Another great displacement comes in and gives him a kill out of that one. Now no Smite. Has to respond with his own Earthshatter. They're going to take him out with Choyobin's self-destruct, though. Didn't have the shield up in the right place. And Super chasing down Rhea. Not even pausing to put a quarter in the jukebox and get some nice tunes on. He's only out for blood and point taken.
Wow, this was a crazy fight that should have been won by the Spark, but they used a lot of their support ultimates early.
Super early, yeah.
And Shock disengaged from their Transcendence. And again, it was a D.Va self-destruct equalizing thing that then forced Godspeed to use the Graviton Surge to try and clean it up.
Yeah.
So Hangzhou Spark invests a crazy amount of ultimates, 5 ults, and get really not a whole lot for it.
Yeah, all they have right now is going to be the Earthshatter for no Smite, and you're going to need a bit more than that. I think, probably, he uses it. They don't get a lot out of it. Now the Graviton Surge in response from Shock. That's going to mean the end of Bezzy. They're going to respond. Another kill on the no Smite there, and Sinatra so charged up, so much damage being done again, and no hope for Spark in winning this fight. They are cruising through Route 66.
Yeah, Sinatra here already at 27% of his team's damage dealt, and it's been all San Francisco. 28 elims to just 9 from the Spark. Yeah. So they've been rolling through this pretty convincingly, and outside of that first push, Hangzhou have hardly gotten anything at all.
Yeah, the Spark in a lot of trouble now. Super with another Earthshatter locked and loaded. That payload is nearly there, too. Spark needs to make something happen.
I mean, you think they're going to stop this?
I don't know. I don't know how you do. They're going to need to get some kills in a hurry here. They got the grab. They're going to need to turn this into something. They do get Moth. That's a good start. Now the Zen ultimates come out. They're gonna push Spark back again. Moth gets caught, but here's the grab. Self-destruct, any defense? Not for Godsby, he's down. Bezzy in trouble as well. Gets knocked down with the Earth Shattering, gets killed by Choyobin. Now Super gets the healing armor pack just in time as they push forward onto the remainders of Spark. Spark do have the respawn advantage right now, but IDK falls so quickly. I don't know about this. No Smite uses the Earth Shatter. No stuns for him. Rhea just trying to buy time on the point. Now it's a matter of draining the time bank because it looks like Shock are gonna finish it in just a second. IDK gets the Zarya shield. That's only gonna last so long. It does last long enough though for No Smite to come out. That's it. Shock finishes with 105 in the time bank. That is a great finish on Route 66 for these guys.
You know, if I've been impressed by one thing from the Shock today, it's their willingness to commit when they've already lost a player and keep these fights going. They have a lot of confidence that, say, Sinatraa died first, he's going to come onto Sombra and get back there for the end of the fight. Again, that was an engagement where they started at a disadvantage and yet they still closed the map on that push.
Well, it's also their ability, too, to use those ultimate combos to get multiple kills. So if you lose somebody early like a Lucio, who can get back to the fight faster than nearly anybody, if you can return the favor with a couple ultimate kills, albeit you need a lot of confidence to do that, you can equalize, and Shock has been pretty decent at doing that so far.
Shock has also been good at trading one ultimate for two. And what I mean by that is they're going to force the Graviton and self-destruct combo from the Spark.
Sure.
And when that comes in, they'll shoot out their own self-destruct, and they've been trading kills that way while investing fewer resources. So we haven't seen a lot of combos from the Shock, as many as from the Spark, because they've been offsetting their self-destruct with their Graviton Surge, but because they're able to at least go even and sometimes even win those engagements, it's been pretty effective.
Well, it may just mean the difference between winning the series right now for San Francisco or going to that map 5. Now it's Spark's turns to attack. They've got a mark set for them, 105 in the time bank for Shock. We'll see how fast they can do it. Bezzy on that Widowmaker. We'll see if he takes a shot or two before swapping. He may just stay on it too. Maybe we're gonna see something a bit funky come out for Shock here, or Spark. Shock plus Spark is Shark, by the way.
The most electric of animals, of course.
Or Spock if you go the other way too. Yeah.
All right, so are they going to change things? IDK on the, okay, they're going to high ground teleport.
Ooh, I like it. The Symmetra coming out. Send everybody up there, then the swap over to Lucio. Just going to try to take that defensive position early.
I'm not sure that actually did anything, but it was cool.
I mean, it's kind of like, surprise, we're here. You could have just walked up there. I mean, it does get them up onto that that high ground and lets them fight from the high ground advantage.
Yeah, but they're just poking, like there's not actually payload movement. Didn't give them a fantastic positional edge.
Now Violet does kill Revenge too, so in the end, the fight does seem to be going the way of the San Francisco Shock. And you know, maybe what Obi-Wan said about the high ground isn't true after all. Who knew? Worked for him, doesn't mean it's gonna work for everybody else.
No, definitely is not working for the Hangzhou Spark. Cute strat doesn't end up with any tangible benefit. Sinatraa now going to be nice and charged up for this next engagement. He should be able to pick up that first Graviton Surge of the game. Actually, Godsby is like just farming Choi Hyobin's mech right now, so never mind.
Ooh, all right, her shadow goes down, but they lose Super. Whoa. That Violet not quite getting the Transcendence there in time to save his Reinhardt. Now everybody has to run. Well, that was a bit of a mistake there.
Godsby just ran up that train car onto the high ground and lasered Choi Hyobin's mech, which gave them the faster Graviton Surge. Super thought he was safe. How could he possibly have a Graviton Surge before Sinatraa does? Well, there's the reason. He almost demech'd Choi Hyobin, so a bit of a positional error there from Shock, and they pay for it.
Sometimes those tanks end up being a big out battery. Sinatraa wanting to return the favor. A lot of damage from the high ground. Drops in with his own Graviton Surge. Self-destruct time. Nice boop. There goes Bezzy. And Spark down a support already. Shock trying to finish off this fight, but it looks like Spark already pulling back. Just going to burn through some of the shield there, and Sinatraa trying to just recharge. Hello.
They're trying to, of course, Sinatraa always waving in the game.
Very friendly.
What a friendly player he is. But
depends on what kind of wave that is. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Looks mean to me. Spark on the attack again. Ooh, they've got Super really low. Has to retreat. Godsby up on the high ground. Can't quite use the Graviton there. They need to be able to reply to it or respond to it, get some kills off of it.
You can see Shock is really afraid because they know Hangzhou's up at 6 ults basically right now.
Pretty much. They should be afraid.
Yeah, and this is where you want to defend because you can stop the payload while standing on the high ground. So it's a perfect place for Shock to force some ultimates out,
They're
buy
buying
some
a lot
time.
of time. There we go, grab on the outside of the wall, pulling people in. Self-destruct thrown in over the top, trying to bounce people at the end, but the sound barrier there just in time. It
Very
does
nice.
mean that Rhea will be taken out on the way out too. Sound barrier for Spark, not saving their diva, who is demeched, trying to get that self-destruct kill. There's the grab, Sinatra going crazy. Look at the damage. They're gonna throw him in there, IDK down as well. And that is not the mine shaft you want to be in if you are Shock.
Not at all, Doa, but
You know,
really
might be,
credit. Moth actually hit the sound barrier perfectly right there. And meanwhile, Choi Hyobin identified that, as you say, the diva was demeched because of the self-destruct, went and just killed Rhea. It was a really good play by Choi Hyobin and Moth.
And this series might end right here. Spark, they're down to their last 10, 12 seconds remaining. Just to take point A, they might get full held again. Moth on high, as you'd find Moths be oftentimes. And the boop, sending the Reinhardt away. Oh, and that opened up a bigger shatter. Choyobin throws in the self-destruct as well. Brutal combo for Shock. That's how you get it done. Rhea nearly demeched. He has to flee. And it is not looking good for Spark. They need a big fight turnaround, and you're not going to get it by losing your diva. Looks like it's all Shock right now. Violet charging into the Transcendence to let his team go forward onto the rest of Hangzhou. There goes no smite, no more Reinhardt, and no more chance, in this caster's opinion, for Hangzhou Spark to get that payload. They don't. And that's going to be a 3-1 victory for San Francisco Shock.
Well, that was a flashy finish to that. Moth with a couple huge plays, perfectly timed sound barrier. Next play, and he just is going to set up the self-destruct combo after the Earth Shatter.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, this meta, I said this earlier in the day, but one of my favorite things about it is seeing the plays the Lucios can make. Moth showing us that in spades, man. Getting that crucial bump onto the Reinhardt, popping up in the air, allowing that Earth Shatter to go through, set up the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, watching the Lucio players is one of the most important things you can do because they're often just riding walls up on the high ground, waiting for somebody to come through a choke point.
What's a perfect map
They'll
for it?
fall down and then just knock somebody out of the way to set up a combo or to push a tank into the enemy team to get a quick kill.
And we see it a lot, and that's the play that ends up winning the day for San Francisco Shock. A 3-1 victory over Hangzhou Spark. And now let's send it down to Danny, who has Super with him, to chat a bit about that match.
That is right, everybody. Give it up for San Francisco Shock. I am here with Super. Congratulations on the win. Now, with today's win, your path to playoffs seems very likely, but you do have a tough schedule up ahead. How important is it for San Francisco Shock and for you personally to make it into the stage playoffs?
So as a team, we feel like we improved greatly over the offseason. So we wanted to make it a goal of ours to make stage playoffs and make the overall playoffs. So hopefully we can make it work.
I'm sure that'll work. You guys could do it. I believe in you, right, guys? Do you guys believe in San Francisco Shock? And also today, we've seen some great Rhyme plays from you. If you could actually rank yourself in the Overwatch League as a Rhyme player, where would you put yourself as?
So, I watched Watchpoint this morning. Zoe wanted to call me super bad. I don't appreciate that very much. But I think I'm definitely one of the top Rhymes in the league for sure.
Blizzard Arena, do you guys agree? Yeah? I agree too. Well, that's all I have. Back to you guys, casters.
All right, thank you, Danny. Yeah, I think you can't call this guy super
Hey,
bad.
I
He
said-
did super well in some of them.
I said to give him some McLovin when they called him super
I
bad.
think the fans
I
will
thought,
do just
I think
that.
he's good.
Well, here's our standings now. Shock jumps up to a tie in 8th place with Guangzhou Charge. Meanwhile, Spark down to 15th. The mighty have fallen. After a great first 2 games, they have lost 3 straight. And so questions abound for the Hangzhou Spark. Thanks for watching tonight, guys. Don't miss the Watchpoint post-show coming up after this. Thank you, Disney Channel XD audience, for tuning in. See you guys on Sunday. We'll see the rest of you on Watchpoint.
League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.